Welcome to Timeless Photos. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one.
Anne Frank's father, Otto. Revisiting the attic where they hid from the Nazis. Otto Frank was the only one from his family who survived. This 1960 photo shows him back in the attic where they once hid. The moment overwhelmed Otto, who broke down in tears. The photographer also began to cry. This raw emotion connects us directly to the Holocaust through a father's grief. Runaway slave Peter, exposing his severely whipped back. Peter endured a brutal whipping in 1862 before escaping in March 1863 from the Lyons plantation, where he and 40 others were enslaved. The shocking scars covering his back tell us more about slavery's horrors than any textbook could. Each mark represents the cruelty of a system that treats human beings as property rather than people. Dorothy Counts, the first black student to attend an all-white school. On September 4, 1957, Dorothy Counts walked into Harding High School in Charlotte, North Carolina, making history as the first black student at this all-white school. White students mocked her and shouted slurs, yet she kept walking, head held high. This image captures a turning point in America's civil rights movement and shows true bravery in facing hatred. A patient undergoing treatment for mental illness, Germany, 1890. This disturbing 1890 photo shows a woman forced into a crucifixion-like pose against a wall at a German mental institution. Doctors actually considered forced standing a proper treatment then. This single image reveals how far mental health care has come, though progress came at the expense of countless patients who endured such inhumane practices. George McLaurin, first African-American student at the University of Oklahoma. In 1948, George McLaurin became the University of Oklahoma's first black student. Despite this milestone, segregation forced him to sit apart from white students, isolated and alone. Yet McLaurin persisted through this humiliation, knowing his struggle would open doors for others. His determination paved the way for educational equality that future generations would benefit from. Wedding rings the Nazis removed from Holocaust victims, 1945. Each ring here represents a life cut short. When U.S. troops liberated Buchenwald in 1945, they discovered thousands of wedding rings taken from Holocaust victims. The Nazis systematically removed these personal items for their gold. Beyond the death toll, this photo reveals another dimension of the Holocaust. The calculated theft of not just lives, but also the most personal symbols of love and commitment. Animal Crisis, World Trade Center, 2001. This rescue dog is being carried from the World Trade Center ruins after the September 11th attacks. These animals worked alongside human rescuers in dangerous conditions, breathing toxic dust while searching for survivors. Many later developed health problems, just like human first responders. Their service reminds us that in our darkest moments, help comes from unexpected heroes who ask for nothing in return. Blanche Monnier, the woman who was locked away. Blanche Monnier, from a respected French family, disappeared at age 25. 25 years later, authorities found her imprisoned in a small room in her family's mansion. Her own mother and brother had kept her locked away to prevent her from marrying someone they disapproved of. This disturbing case shows how family status was used to hide monstrous crimes. The Magdalene Laundries. These weren't just laundries, they were prisons for women who didn't fit society's rules. The Magdalene Laundries took in women who came from orphanages, were considered simple-minded, broke sexual norms, or faced minor charges. Days consisted of endless laundry work and prayer. Behind the facade of moral improvement was a system of unpaid labor that trapped thousands of women for decades. The Priest and the Dying Soldier, 1962. During a 1962 Venezuelan revolt, Navy chaplain Luis Padilla risked his life to comfort a dying soldier. Bullets hit the ground around them as the wounded man grabbed the priest's robes. Most would run from gunfire, but this priest ran toward someone in need. The photo captures human connection and spiritual comfort amid violence and chaos. The Chernobyl disaster. On April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at Chernobyl exploded in the world's worst nuclear disaster. Over 500,000 workers joined the cleanup, with costs reaching $700 billion today. A routine safety test turned catastrophic when a power surge destroyed the reactor. Radiation spread across Europe while a reactor fire burned. The disaster created an exclusion zone that remains largely uninhabitable. Hungarian Jews being selected for the gas chamber. This image shows Hungarian Jews at Auschwitz in 1944, waiting for selection, life or immediate death. In just 2 months, Hungary sent 420,000 Jewish people to Auschwitz. Thousands arrived daily, and 3/4 were killed immediately. This photo captures the final moments before families were separated forever, with many headed to the gas chambers just minutes after this picture was taken. Radium girls. In 1922, young women in American factories painted watch dials with radium paint. Their employers told them to sharpen brush points with their lips, causing them to swallow radioactive material. The consequences were horrific. Their bodies glowed as radiation poisoned them. After a legal battle, the Radium Girls won their case in 1928, changing workplace safety laws forever. Their suffering created protection that workers today take for granted. Nurses in bomb trenches, France, 1918. These World War I nurses didn't just battle disease, they dodged bombs too. This 1918 photo shows nurses in trenches between hospital wards in France. Working near the front lines, they faced danger while caring for wounded soldiers. Often understaffed and short on supplies, they performed life-saving work in evacuation hospitals and mobile surgical tents. Their courage saved countless lives in conditions most of us can hardly imagine. Nagasaki under atomic bomb attack, 1945. On August 9, 1945, this mushroom cloud rose over Nagasaki, Japan. Just 3 days after Hiroshima, this second atomic bombing killed tens of thousands more civilians. Together, these attacks killed up to 246,000 people, the only time nuclear weapons have been used in war. 6 days later, Japan surrendered. This image represents not just World War II's end, but the dawn of an age when humanity gained the power to destroy itself. Easter eggs for Hitler, 1945. Technical Sergeant William E. Thomas and Private First Class Joseph Jackson, 2 African-American soldiers, prepared artillery shells with messages for Hitler. Despite facing racism both in the military and at home, black soldiers fought bravely against Nazi forces. By 1945, many all-black combat units were proving themselves on the front lines. Their service is remarkable considering they fought for freedom abroad that they were often denied at home. Jewish prisoners liberated from a death train, 1945. On April 13, 1945, American forces discovered a train near Magdeburg, Germany, one of 3 death trains from Bergen-Belsen. Inside were 2,500 Jewish prisoners abandoned by fleeing Nazi guards. The Americans found people barely alive, starved, sick, and traumatized. Most came from Eastern Europe. Their faces show both relief at survival and the horror of what they endured. The train was meant to be their tomb, but became the site of their liberation. Nazis hung 17-year-old Lepa Radic. As Nazi soldiers prepared to hang 17-year-old Lepa Radic for fighting with Yugoslav partisans, they offered a deal that was to reveal her comrades' names and live. Her response was, "You will know them when they come to avenge me." Even facing death, she refused to betray her fellow resistance fighters. Her bravery earned her the Order of the People's Hero after the war. This teenage girl showed more courage in her final moments than most displayed in a lifetime. The Terror of War, 1972. This famous photo shows the true cost of the Vietnam War. 9-year-old Kim Phuc runs naked after a South Vietnamese napalm attack burned her skin. Amazingly, she survived and later created a foundation to help child war victims. Her journey from victim to healer shows how even the deepest wounds can lead to healing. The Burning Monk. On June 11, 1963, Buddhist monk Thich Quang Duc sat in Saigon Street, was covered in gasoline, and lit a match. His self-immolation protested the South Vietnamese government's persecution of Buddhists. As flames engulfed him, he never moved or cried out. This extraordinary act of protest became one of the most powerful images of the 20th century, forcing the world to notice religious oppression and showing the extreme measures people take when facing injustice. And with that last photo, we have come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the subscribe button for more awesome videos just like this one. This has been Timeless Photos. Thanks for watching.